In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to transfer your marks from your pattern piece to your fabric piece. The type of marks we're going to be looking at are reference marks, the placement of pockets and buttons, buttonholes, and darts. So let's get started. You always want to take a look at a pattern piece because there's always a lot of information you can find on there. One of the things that they put on there, they put usually little circles or triangles or something in order to indicate to you, you need to use this dot as a reference for something. If the dot is close to the edge, like these are over here, that means that you're probably going to match this with another dot on another fabric piece. Now you'll notice 3 of them. That's because you would only mark one according to your size. So if you're doing a medium, it would be this dot, a small would be this dot, and an extra small would be this dot. There are these dots right here. You would need to mark this onto your fabric piece because this is for the placement of a pocket. So if you have dots somewhere in the middle, it's probably for the placement of something. Another thing that you want to look out for is if your garment you're making has buttons, there's going to be a guide to indicate where these buttons and buttonholes need to be placed. Right here I have a line with an X. The X is for the placement of the buttons. The bar is for the buttonhole. The reason why you have both of them together on this pattern piece is because this is the front of the shirt. You're supposed to cut 2 of this pattern out. So on one of them, you would put the buttonhole placements. On the other front, the other piece, you would just put the X for the button placement. So in order to make your marks, what I normally do is I very carefully, let's say I'm going to do this dot, I will remove these pins. I will then carefully lift this up until I have the spot where my circle is, and then take my marker and just mark it. If I have 2 pattern or 2 pieces, fabric pieces, so I need to mark 2 of these, one for the left side and one for the right side, I'll take my pin, put it down through the pattern piece and the fabric, then turn it over and mark where my pin is coming out. So now I've done it both for the left side and for the right side. If I have dots that are sort of in the middle, I'll take out my pins and then I'll just carefully lift this up till I find my size. I could just barely see my circle right here, and then I'll mark a dot. So that's how you mark that part. For buttonholes, because you have to draw a line, what I like to do is I'll lift this up, draw where I find my first line. I'll just draw a line. Then I'll get the second portion, this part right here. And then I'll get my sewing gauge and draw a line right through the middle of these and just make it darker. So that's how you do those marks. So sometimes you have marks that you need to make that have a series of dots with lines drawn through them. This is an example of making a dart. The first thing you're going to want to do is look for your size at the top of these markings. Once you find which one represents your size, you're going to make this mark onto your fabric piece. So you're not making a mark for all these dots here, just the one that's for your size. Coming out from this top dark is a series of lines. There's 2 of them. You follow them down, and then that's the second dot. So we have one here and one here. You then follow these lines down again to your other pair of darts. So you mark these, and then it tapers all the way down to the bottom, and you have your final dot here. So you're going to want to make these dots here, which is a total in this one, 6. So once you've made those dots onto your fabric pieces, you need to also draw these lines. These lines represent your stitch lines, so where you're going to stitch in order to create this dart. So once I have my dots on my fabric piece, I then get my ruler and I lay them right over the dots and get my marker and just draw a line connecting them. May not be as curved as this, but it's the accurate way for me to get my stitch line for my dart.